Hello, this is Seneca Harris. I'm coming to you with another video commentary brought to you by the Urban Wire Media Network, where we shine the light on issues impacting the urban community. Now, today I want to bring you a very special commentary. Today I want to talk about the Columbine massacre that took place 20 years ago to this day. Like I said, this happened April 20th, 1999, where there were 12 students and one teacher that lost their lives. There was a lot of national press around this tragic event, and it pretty much changed the whole entire landscape on how we viewed violence in schools, and as far as kids bringing guns and weapons to school. And it just pretty much changed the landscape of how we thought certain things happen in certain communities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a couple clips about the massacre that took place. And before we do, I just want to also add that the two students that carried out this massacre, these two animals, that I call them animals, and I thank God that, this sounds harsh, but thank God they're dead. They're not even worth living. The way they just took out their anger and rage on innocent students, and that teacher that pretty much jumped in and saved the lives of the other students. Their names were Harris and Dylan Klebold. So what we're gonna do is go to a quick clip. I'm gonna play a couple clips, and I'm gonna come back with the rest of my commentary.
With the 20th anniversary of the Columbine High School massacre just a few days away, that school and hundreds of other Denver schools were closed today due to credible threats by an 18-year-old woman. Today, law enforcement officials say the woman was found dead from an apparent suicide. In a moment, Lisa Desjardins will speak with two people whose lives were profoundly altered by the tragedy. But first, we hear from some survivors directly. In the upcoming Rocky Mountain PBS documentary, Ripples of Columbine, it is clear that many are still struggling with physical and emotional scars.
I was a senior when Columbine happened. I saw one of my friends die and everyone else shot around me.
My name is Heather Martin, and I was a senior in 1999. I was barricaded in the choir office. There were 60 of us in there for about 3 hours.
I'm Frank DeAngelis, former principal at Columbine High School.
My name is Makai Hall. I was in the Columbine High School library.
My name is Lance Kirkland. I was shot 5 times at Columbine High School. It was somewhere around 35 surgeries, I think. That first, year, 2 years, feels like, every other month I was having something done. Just got to the point in 2001 where I found out that I was going to be a dad and was trying to, pay my own bills and live out on my own. And it was just too much at that time, mentally and physically, to just keep doing surgeries, so I stopped.
I don't remember freshman, I don't remember my sophomore year, I don't remember my junior, I don't remember graduating, barely. I remember Columbine. I mean, there definitely is survivor guilt, which I felt. I still feel. It's palpable, it's real. Why didn't I put myself in front of the gun instead? Why didn't I roll my body over Lauren? Why didn't I pull Gina out with me? It was more of like punishment, essentially, because I wasn't injured. I was really angry at God, really upset. Just why was I still alive? Why didn't I get hurt? Why am I still here?
I got into this cycle where it was like it was on repeat, and all I could think about was how bad it was for me and how horrifying it was. The images of the shooting were pretty clear, and the violence of it, seeing people maimed and hurt and dead, those things, it took a while for them to leave. I was very depressed, very angry. I couldn't get over the fact that I had gone through something and I felt like the world owed me something.
Even after 20 years, Columbine is a heavy word with a stigma not just attached to it, but anchored.
When there is another school tragedy, which just rips at our hearts every time we see that, the word Columbine will be brought up. It's a Columbine-like massacre.
Dawn Anna's daughter, Lauren Townsend, was one of Columbine's 13 victims, 12 students and one teacher, Dave Sanders, who ran to the cafeteria and told everyone to flee, sacrificing his life to save others.
His legacy will go on forever because he saved hundreds of kids who will then have children, who will have children, who will have children.
Daughter Connie Sanders still cherishes what her father said before dying. Tell my girls, I love them.
And I truly believe that if he was given a choice, he would have still made the same choice to save all of those students. And the only thing I have to say is, my goodness, we love him too.
The scars of Columbine can also be seen on those who survived. Sean Graves was shot 6 times and left paralyzed from the waist down, yet he defied doctors' odds when he walked across the stage to get his diploma.
It's a reminder of how precious life is.
Today, he's still walking and paying tribute to those who didn't survive, like his friend Dan Rohrbaugh, whose name is etched in the Columbine Memorial. After 20 years, the pain is still there.
I'm not going to say that I'm over it, because I will never be over it, but I don't want to focus on the dark side.
It's why Graves and so many others here choose to focus on something positive. Take Lauren Townsend's family. She loved animals, so they created a foundation to help wildlife.
This is an amazingly strong, loving community. And Columbine, that word Columbine should mean that, united.
Look in the dictionary, you'll see the word Columbine is defined as dove-like. They hope this April 20th delivers peace.
All right, we're back. Like I said, that this is a very tragic and just a horrible situation that took place. And like I mentioned before I played the clips, this pretty much changed the landscape of a lot of conversation that we were having in the nation. I think before this incident happened, you know, people always had this misconception or the mindset that these things only happened in certain communities. These things only happen in the urban or the inner city, or however you want to say it. But it took a situation like this, a tragic situation like this, for us to bring up awareness and just have the conversation that, no, this can happen anywhere. And we can't sit back and say, well, since this is happening over here, this doesn't impact my community, we don't need to bring national awareness to this. And I think that Columbine pretty much set the precedence of us having to take a serious look on violence or gun violence in general in schools. Since then, we've been seeing an influx since this tragic situation. We've been seeing a lot of copycat massacres that have taken place in this country, and pretty much just set the tone of, like, you know, the conversation behind domestic terrorism. Like we've always seen it, but I think that within the past 20 years, we've seen an influx of domestic terrorism. And I'm just gonna call it what it is, because a lot of times we see when these situations take place, we don't want to call it what it is, because there's a certain face behind the individuals. There's a certain face of the individuals where we don't want to say that they're terrorism, because we try to paint the narrative that the terrorists are these scary boogeymen from overseas that are trying to get into our country and invade our country and wreak havoc. And a lot of times, some of the most dangerous terrorists are homegrown here in this country. So, you know, with that being said, you know, a lot of people kind of credit this to 9/11, you know, us having these conversations, but I think it started off with Columbine, because I remember at the time, I'm about the age of these people. Probably, I'm in my mid-30s, and these people are probably around the same age. Because I remember when this happened, I was in my 9th grade year, and I just remember just the complete horror and terror that, you know, myself and other people that were in my class at that time, like, we were just like so dumbfounded and we were just scared and concerned, like, because we saw that this happened at this small town school, like, you know, it could happen anywhere. You see what I'm saying? You know, I came up during a time where I know my generation, especially those who came up around my time, we experienced a lot of things in the news that pretty much changed the landscape of how we view national security and everything else, because my senior year we experienced 9/11. And I just remembered how that pretty much changed the world. Like, ever since Columbine and 9/11, the world has never been the same again. Like, I remember before 9/11 and Columbine, it was nothing for people just to walk into schools. You know, you didn't really have to answer any questions. Like, people can come and go out of the schools. But I think the good thing that came out of this, it kind of had us to start looking at the safety of our schools, which I think that was neglected. You know what I'm saying? And it's still so crazy that it took this for us to start looking at this situation or this issue. I just feel sorry for the individuals, the families of these people. I thank God that the survivors are doing better. I've seen some clips of the survivors there. They've made some strides, and they really have overcome. You know, for someone to go through something like this, you know, it just, my hat goes off to them, because I would never want to be in a situation where I would have to watch people around me being shot down one by one, and there's nothing I could do about it. You know, no way of escape. I just wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So I just thank God that these people are getting the help that they need. They're finding peace within themselves. And I pray that they continue to heal and tell their stories, because this is the only way we're going to shed light on these issues is if we tell our stories. So I'm really thankful that these people are still surviving. They're doing well. A lot of them have, a lot of the students have started families of their own. And I just hope that they continue to tell their story, because that's the only way we're going to keep awareness on situations like this. You know, like I said, we've seen a lot of copycat terrorist attacks throughout the years, and I'm glad that we're actually starting to address these issues as far as bullying in the schools, because a lot of times these kids don't have any outlet. And I'm not excusing what these kids did, but a lot of times, you know, kids are being bullied, and they're in these homes, they're doing all kinds of stuff. The parents aren't paying attention to these kids. They're gathering up all these weapons. They're doing all this stuff under these parents' roofs, which I never understood. How can you live on your parents' roof and they don't even know what you're doing in their house? So I think a lot of this falls back on the parents as well. I wonder if the parents took more of an active role in these two maniacs' lives. Like, if they actually were paying attention to what they were doing, this whole incident could have been avoided. So it's just one of those things we have to really, as a community, we have to really reach out to the youth. We have to know what's going on in their personal lives, because you don't know what could be manifesting. So, like I said, my prayers go out to the families of the victims of 9/11, the survivors, and you know, my hat goes off to the teacher that lost his life as well. It just says a lot about how he took his job as an educator seriously, and how he put the children first. And I think that these days we don't really have that. We don't have a lot of people that are putting the children first. It's just it's just what's the word I'm looking for? It's just a job to them. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times these kids come to school, their lives are jacked up at home. They have no guidance. And it's always good to see an educator that doesn't care about the money, but they care about educating the youth and making a positive impact. So that's pretty much it for this commentary. What I need you guys to do is just drop down in the comments and just let me know, especially if you're from my generation. Do you remember, how old were you and what were you doing when you heard about this tragic event, and how did it change your life personally? Even though I know, you weren't probably there, but how did it impact you? And I just want to hear some of your guys' stories. Until next time, please rate, subscribe, comment, and we will talk to you soon. See you on the next video commentary.